Welcome back, everybody, to Markonomics 101. Brings you Hoot Loot, the place you come to be informed, be amused, but never be misled. Today's show is a wing dinger. Today is October 27th, and the title of the show today is a crypto collapse imminent? Of course not. It's the future. I'm sure most of you are thinking right now, but I'm going to show you some charts that tell you it just ain't what it is. And if you go back and look at some of our other work on Bitcoin and all that, more evidence keeps coming up that this is just I don't know what to call it, but it's no good, and it's surrounded by no good. Um, we're going to show you some charts that the clock is running out on this thing, and some major developments that I just think are just unbelievable. So with that, I would appreciate it very much if you'd like and subscribe. They're down there. And we'll be right back with the charts. And boy, are you going to be blown away. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to show you some amazing charts today. And the first one, of course, is what I call the canaries in the coal mine, Bitcoin and Tesla. Bitcoin actually rallied to make what looks like a double top. And I really did not believe this was going to happen. However, the ETF, the exchange traded fund that just came out, had the largest inflows in history. So a lot of this buying here is in anticipation of it, and the realization of it, and the fact that they had to go out and buy a bunch of coins, which they still haven't even finished doing. The ETF gives Bitcoin a legitimacy that it just doesn't deserve. But that's my opinion. I've told you why. If you want to know why more, Bitcoin Bites Back goes through all of the just things that don't make sense about this thing. You own nothing but a password. But the fact of the matter is, what I would call naive money or unsophisticated money are the ones that are chasing these things. And that's why they're the canaries in the coal mine, because basically these are the marginal buyers. These are the Robin Hoodniks, as I call them. And we're going to show you some stuff here in just a minute that's pretty wild. Tesla is this one's an interesting one. Tesla made a deal with Hertz. Now, Hertz bought 100,000 of the sedans of the Model 3 on that day. Okay, now that cost $4 billion. That cost Hertz $4 billion, okay? On that day, Elon Musk became $50 billion richer the next day, because at least as of a little while ago, it was up 15% in 2 days. How it's now $1 trillion company. How on earth did it reach $1 trillion? For the company, Elon Musk claims that he's going to be selling 20 million cars. I mean, 20 million cars is like basically the consumption in the U.S. So every single car is going to be a Tesla car. Okay, I'll buy it, but I'll tell you this: there is some value to this company. The information the informational content is amazing. However, that they get through through the software. But what I will say is, right now, it's selling 500,000 cars a year, and at 500,000 cars a year, you know, it's worth something like $1 million a car per sale. I mean, I just don't get it. And Hertz, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if Teslas are really actually suitable to the rental market at all. I mean, I think it's kind of a neat little, it's a neat little, you know, uh, sort of promotional technique. But when it comes right down to it, you're going to have to find one of those chargers somewhere, one of those things. And I don't know. He just doesn't make enough money on every car. And with Ford and everybody else, it's a crowded space. And I'm not even sure that this is the best of the crowded space. I do know it causes a lot of pollution, and I do know that nobody wants to work for this guy. And that's all there is to it. So he's kind of a tyrant. Uh, Now we're going to go a little bit to the major indices before we go into some of the crypto stuff, which is pretty cool. The Dow Jones Industrials, everything, all of the major indexes are in a a flat consolidation pattern. That's where they just move sideways. We call that a bull flag. Why do we call it a bull flag? Because generally speaking, it will continue in the direction that preceded it. The longer the consolidation, the more violent the move. So when you start seeing year-and-a-half consolidations, and it breaks out, a stock or indices breaks out, it's going to be a big move. I mean, they don't break out just, with that much pressure. They just don't break out. And the amazing thing about breaking above or below one of these consolidation patterns is that either everybody's made a profit and it's going to keep on going, or everybody's at a loss and it's going to keep on going. So that's what happens here. That's why we look for a material breakout of indices like this. Dow, not yet. It still keeps going and going and going. I thought maybe with this week's earnings that were coming out, that might be the catalyst. It was not. So we'll wait. We'll just wait and see what the catalyst is. But the catalyst is coming. NASDAQ also, possibly a double top. A lot of the indexes have not really broken out substantially. When you have a double top, you don't expect that the index is going to rally up to exactly the same number. They're plus or minus. And the NASDAQ still has a lot of stocks that are strong in it. So, right now, I'm just going to stay neutral on it and see how earnings treats it, see how interest rates go. But this is not something I would want to be an owner of right now. I think that, you are really on borrowed time. You've been on borrowed time for a while, but it hasn't, it can only sell for infinity. We're almost there. S&P small caps are looking pretty good. Again, they've been in this long consolidation pattern. These things break up, that's good news. These things break down, that's bad news. So we're just going to wait until that happens. S&P 500, slight breakout. I'm not sure that I would call this significant yet without the other companies following suit, without the other indices following suit. The transportations, now this is interesting. They have all of a sudden picked up like crazy. And they look also like they may have made a double top or a Dow theory buy. Now, the Dow theory is basically goes way back about 100 years. That was about 15 years old when they came out with it, so I kind of remember it. It looked pretty good for my age, don't I? So in any event, when the transportation index and the Dow both make new highs simultaneously or within some time of each other, that's usually a bull market high or a bull market bull signal. Same thing on the downside. This is giving us a possible bull signal. We have to keep an eye on it. And as much as I've been a perma bear and said, geez, this thing can't go any higher, well, it keeps going higher. Oops. Now, here's where this security is so critical. It's the Treasury inflation protected securities. Look at that. When inflation goes up, okay, or thought to go up, when investors expect it to go up, they will bid this thing up. It pays a small coupon, and the principal also will accrete based on the difference between the yield on the bond and the CPI, which we know the CPI is kind of, but nonetheless, it's better than nothing, and this probably is as protective of a security as you're going to find out there. US dollar, still in a trading range. I have absolutely no idea how this thing manages to stay up. I really don't. It will come out pretty soon. But the US dollar, with all of the stimulus and all of the spending, is just going to diminish in value. You look at how many things are fixed and how many things are not, like the dollar, and you just keep hearing about $3 trillion stimulus packages, which of course I never get. I still have yet to get a stimulus package. They must love me there. All right, CRB, look at that. This is now a 20-year monthly, because you can't even put these on a one-year chart anymore because they've been going up straight. This thing, the CRB index, has gone up 130% in a year, but it's transitory inflation, eh, Joe? Or a J-Pal, or a whoever wants to toe the party line. It's not transitory inflation. Everybody's raising prices. We all know that. This is kind of like, see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. as Sergeant Schultz would say on Hogan's Heroes, one of my longtime favorite shows, I know nothing, I see nothing. And that's basically what the media wants you to do. They want to keep the information from you. And what's happening is that uh, that kind of a bad policy is going to do nothing but exacerbate it, because the longer you delay in acknowledging what's going on, and the longer you delay adequate policy, it's going to be even harder to stop. The genie's out of the bottle, folks. That's all there is to it. And any way you can hedge yourself against inflation, like, the tips aren't bad, but real estate, probably one of the best long-term hedges. Yeah, they go down every so often, but real estate, they're not making more of it, and they're making more dollars. It's just bound to go higher. Natural gas is another one. Energy is huge. The Russians, who control a big chunk of it, just said that they were going to make it, they were going to control the supply to Europe. And, that you just know it's going to be a cold summer, and natural gas is going to just go crazy. I mean, it has been as high as 16. It's not that high yet, but would you believe it? Natural gas used to be something that in an oil well they would actually burn it off because they thought it was a headache and a pain in the ass. Unreal how much has just been burned off and let go. But that was what was thought of natural gas. Now it's huge. Crude oil makes a new high every day. Look at that, 8 straight weeks or something like that. I don't know exactly what's going on. I suspect that it is hoarding that's going on, and that because there's starting to be shortages of things, people are stocking up on vital things. And by stocking up, the inventory that would normally be carried by a business is carried by you. And so what happens is, everybody going through this, they see an empty supermarket shelf, they go, oh my God, we're running out of something. So, that human behavior is very much affecting what's going on in the markets. I'll give you an example. The human behavior for they couldn't get Halloween decorations done in time, so you're going to have a great after Halloween sale. But even Christmas is going to be a problem for people to buy gifts and get them there in time. They're going to buy them early, is what's going to happen, and then there won't be Christmas sales. Will look terrible. That's what's going to happen here, and I have a feeling that that's what we're coming down to. That's my best guess. So let's see if that happens. Again, I want to show this. I hadn't shown this before, but I'm going to show it again a second time because it's so indicative. The CBOE is the Chicago Board Options Exchange. It's publicly traded. And look at that. After a five-year consolidation, it is breaking out. Now, that can't be bad for the markets if volume is going up and the exchanges are doing well. Usually when there's a bear market, the exchanges are dead. And they're not dead even close. We're going to show you some info on that in just a minute too. The ICE is the owner of the NYSE, and no, this is not. No, you don't have to go running. This is not this is not customs, people. I promise. But look at that, just broke out. And what it means is New York Stock Exchange is becoming either more profitable, there's more volume, but something good is happening. That does not happen at the beginning of a bear market. I mean, it just doesn't. So right now, we're gonna kind of kick back on that, and we're gonna say, I'm not eating crow this time. I'll tell you what though, a crypto collapse is innocent. I'm not gonna eat crow, but we'll figure out something if I'm wrong. All right, so the Nasdaq too, just straight up. FedEx, this is so indicative of the economy, and I've made the point before that that the economy right now has a bump because people are stocking and hoarding, and it looks, there's some things that look good, but at some point that stocking and hoarding is going to end, and they will not be buying in the same types of ways they'll be buying before. And so the what appears to be an economic movement up is just people stocking up. It's an inventory thing, and when prices are going up, that is a natural thing to do, because why not buy something before the price goes up? And that's the attitude right now, and that is every bit of indication is showing that absolutely right now. MasterCard looks like it's breaking down. This is bad news, also for two reasons. One, I think that the consumer may be tapped out at this point in time. There's certainly been a lot about it, and MasterCard is so important in terms of, you know, uh, being correlated to transactions. Now we're going to see something entirely different in a minute. UPS, all of a sudden, it's made a new top. So call me confused. Just don't call me any names. Well, you can call me some names, I guess. People do that all the time. But UPS, look at that, gone up. And just the other day, it said it was having trouble getting drivers and logistics and this and that. FedEx had a terrible earnings report. One of the very few. I'm sure they beat estimates because they probably knocked down the earnings estimates to the analysts by like 90%. Uh, a lot of them are coming out this week, by the way, and that's one of the important things. I don't want to comment on the markets right now too much, other than to say that these earnings reports are coming out. They're unbelievably good, and it blows my mind that a company as big as Microsoft can have the kind of growth Microsoft is having, as well as Google. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Visa looks like it's in a rounded top, so we'll see. If you look at today's trading, it broke down below where it should be supporting. So, two of your credit card companies are not looking so hot right now. That is definitely a negative sign. Walmart, on the other hand, now this starts going into our crypto collapse thing. Walmart has announced that it is selling Bitcoin in vending machines at 200 locations. Now think about that for a minute. Walmart is run by the Walton family. They are old school. They do not like Bitcoin. They do not believe in Bitcoin, I would gather. So what are they doing? They're allowing dumb money, okay, the marginal dumb money for the convenience of having some Bitcoin and being cool, because we all know if you own Bitcoin, you're cool. I'm not very cool because I don't own it. But the point is, Walmart is charging commissions that are usurious, something like 10% commissions. That is illegal under, the SEC would never allow something like that, but this isn't really a securities transaction now, is it? And the funny thing is, Walmart, it strikes me, they are picking people off. 11% or 10% type of commissions. Walmart's picking people off. They're picking off greedy, dumb money, and this is so much more convenient. Now you just get somebody, they buy their diapers out there and their Depends or whatever, and they pick up a few Bitcoins in a vending machine. They're already down 10%. And I just, you know, every place you go, there are companies like that taking advantage of dumb money. And I hate to call it dumb money, but it's uneducated money. It's money that just was told it was going to make instant millions, but it hasn't and it won't. Amazon, look at that. That's about a year and a half consolidation. When that thing moves, it's going to move. I don't know which way it's going to go. The earnings were supposed to be announced this week. We'll see about that. Um, I just don't want to comment on that, but I will say this. Um, Amazon is getting into just about every kind of business. They're even going to compete with good old Elon. Google, here's another one, straight up for 5 years. And if you look at just in a couple of years, this thing has gone from about 1,000 to 2,700, and its earnings continue to just compound like crazy. One can only suspect that that's maybe lack of competition and things like that that have helped. And gee, who might have helped them not have as much competition? Maybe our U.S. government. Our U.S. government, you know, poor things. All they can do is sit there and figure out ways of how to take money from us, spend it, and spend it poorly, and get reelected, and cheat and lie because they know they're never going to lose their jobs. Um, I want them to lose their jobs. They work for us. We don't work for them. And right now, vote out the incumbents. That is our only chance to restore freedom back into this economy. Because right now, what I see, and I'm sure what you see, is that we are being strangled by monopolies. We're being strangled by big government. We are just being strangled. Apple, still looking good. I don't know. I can't give it any downside here. It's one of the reasons I think there is a good chance that we are going to see another burst higher. I don't know why. I can't justify it, but I'm not going to argue with the charts. The charts are right, and I'm wrong no matter what, and that's why you can't have a worldview. All right, Facebook. Facebook has had to admit a few things in the last couple of weeks, which we actually had on a couple shows. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp are absolutely a platform for child trafficking. They are a platform for scamming and Bitcoin scamming. I have shown you those malicious QR codes, which I happen to know a lot of companies are looking at right now because that does represent a threat. We reported on that stuff months ago. Please look at it. It's just as relevant today, and we've got to stop this. I mean, we absolutely have to stop this. Bitcoin, the reason I put this again is I want to show you some charts here. We're getting into the crypto section and why a crypto collapse is imminent. All right, so you've seen this before, okay? Now, a double top, I have it here, is typically a bearish pattern. And when you think about the fact that they had the ETF come out this week, and I'm going to go to the ETF here. There we go. A billion. This was the largest ETF in history. When they started to market this thing, got approval. Basically, they had to buy it. I mean, they had to buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin because, there's no such thing as paper Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But let's go back one second. Bitcoin futures. Now, notice that Bitcoin futures are, well, what it says on Friday here, I want you to ignore the line at the top, but on Friday, the Bitcoin futures now, these are traded like commodities, okay? Now, commodities were created to help farmers. Okay, so farmers could sell a bushel of apples 6 months down the road when the harvest was in, and someone would contract to buy those apples and take them from them. Now, that's what the point of a futures is. Now, Bitcoin, how do you get delivery of a Bitcoin? It doesn't exist. It's a password. So you settle in cash. In other words, if you buy Bitcoin futures, it's a bet. It is nothing but a bet. You don't get anything because no one can deliver you anything because it doesn't exist. It's a password. There's no options on it because you'd have to deliver those. And if I went and I bought euros, they deliver them to me. If I had a futures contract in cash, we settle in cash, but it's cash, So of course you're going to get delivery. This, no delivery. It's just for gambling. It's just a bet, and that's what blows my mind. That actually this got approved for the pure sake of gambling. The Bitcoin futures ETF called Bito. Now this one's already started to trade off because you're getting some of the last believers, at this price that haven't bought in yet, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes down, or how this trades relative to Bitcoin itself. It hasn't done very well in the last couple days. Surprise, surprise! Everybody bought the other day. Bitcoin Cash. Now, here's where we start looking at the also-rans. Bitcoin Cash has lost $1,200 from peak to trough. It's barely made any kind of move up. This tells you that the weakness is starting. I mean, this is not a good chart. You'd want all of the cryptos to do well, and they're not. Ethereum made a double top, but look at the reversal today. I think it went up in sympathy. They're talking about an Ethereum ETF. So who knows? But a lot of these are just speculative hype type movements. Ripple, same thing. Got its butt kicked, barely come back, and this is what we're seeing everywhere. Robinhood markets, the biggest sellers, the biggest sellers of these woke type companies, and Robinhood has gone nothing but straight down. And I'll tell you this, I heard yesterday that Robinhood, to start an account, you need 1 minute. You can be trading in like 5. And all that does is encourage people to lose money. And they're going after the absolute most prone, uneducated people out there. If you're starting to trade and you don't know what you're doing, please tune us in. We're going to tell you all you need to know. I've been an insider. I've traded. I've made the mistakes. I want to save them from you. Riot blockchain. Anything with blockchain was supposed to go up by 10 times. This one didn't. Look at that. Again, I still don't quite grasp the blockchain thing, but this should be rallying if Bitcoin was making another leg. It really should be. You have almost anything having to do with Bitcoin, like Overstock.com. Here's another one. I had to do it a lot later out. Now, Overstock only went up to about 80 last time Bitcoin had a big bull market. This time, 120 came down, And you know, this one does not look like a good pattern. They only have like 1% of their sales in Bitcoin. You know, anybody that thinks Bitcoin's a currency ought to just forget about it right now. MicroStrategy, another company that gave up its ways for Bitcoin. And look, this thing doesn't look good either. It hasn't rallied, and it's rallied hugely because of its exposure to Bitcoin. Not now, not so much. So again, this should be rallying if the cryptos were going to rally. Greystone, this is the one that owned by the Winklevoss brothers, and this one is trading at a discount to Bitcoin. I'm not quite sure why. I think a lot of the money must have moved into the ETFs. Who knows? Digital World Acquisition. Now, here's an interesting company. You know, a lot of times we talk about politics, you know, on this because unfortunately, the blending and the morphing of politics and the morphing of economics and the markets into one is happening. This is a Donald Trump type of entity. I have, you know, haven't really looked at it yet, but you know, here we go. When this thing goes up, it is going to go up on his fortunes. So you'll have a way to see whether money is actually promoting him or not. I don't know, but this is a really good way to do it. And the most and least trusted people in the world. Now, I want to do this because I should be a doctor. Oh, take 2 aspirin, call me in the morning. But I'm not. Well, actually, I am, and a model, and a lot of other good things. But have you noticed? Look at the bottom of this. Politicians generally, yet they get reelected 90% of the time. How is that possible? Because we don't vote them out of office. We don't fire them. We don't work for them. They might think so, but they work for us. And it's about time we fire all incumbents. I don't care who. You can, you know, if you're a Democrat and you want to vote Democrat, just vote for a non-incumbent. If you're a Republican, same thing. But the point is, they should serve one term, have the people's interests in mind and not their own about getting reelected. And believe me, if we can get them to, if we can force term limits on them, they're going to listen to us. We've got voices, and vote out the politicians, people. That is the way to restore freedom to this country. And with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll be back. We'll be back soon, and we're going to be back bigger, better than ever. And we love you all, and we appreciate the fact that you're tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Please send this out to people you know, because this information is so vital for people to get. You're never going to get it from the media. They're the leading cause of mental illness, and I'm still having a few little dizzy spells. But anyway, thanks for tuning in.